Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to a special edition of Soccer Summertime. Craig Elston flying solo on this side. We say vaya con Dios to Tony Sanchez right now. He's in Guadalajara covering the FIFA World Cup for SanDiego.Futbol. Check out all of his coverage on the website. So consider this a special edition, not a full show. And as you can see, I've got a very special guest. Joining me is San Diego Soccer for Life now. Nick Perera, MASL Ron Newman Cup champion, and with, as you probably already know by the time you've clicked on this, a special notice that for Nick, he's going to be parting ways with the Soccers this summer. Nicky, thank you for some time today.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for taking it on.
Well, let's talk about it, man. And obviously, we're going to spend some minutes recapping the season that was, and without getting too far ahead of it and allowing your next club to have their day in the light to make their announcement. Tell us why you're parting ways with the Soccers.
Yeah, I think my responsibility and every person's responsibility is to their family first and foremost. So there's an opportunity that's come across that's allowed me to basically make indoor soccer my full-time employ. I recently moved on from a club job that I had in San Marcos that was my full-time employ. So an opportunity came along that allowed me to do that and provide for my family at the level that I think that they deserve and that I want to be able to do. So it was an opportunity I couldn't really turn down from that regard. And obviously, with the blessings of Phil, Craig, and Cheeky, and the whole backroom staff and technical staff were fully aware of the conversations and brought up to speed on it and know exactly what's happening.
We put it in the release as well, but I know Phil Salvaggio, when you spoke to him, said straight up, "Hey, man, you got to take this."
Yeah, I mean, he's a. It's funny. We've had probably the best relationship Phil and I have ever had was this past season, and there's a lot of history there. Obviously, positive history, and also sometimes not always positive history. But this year was fantastic for both of us. And I think when I kind of laid out what had happened in the off season with my other employment and this opportunity, I mean, he actually before I was even stepped away from San Marcos was like, hey, I think that people were going to offer you a full-time job, and if you can make that work, you should do it because he spoke very highly of me, obviously as a player and as a leader, but just that the indoor game needs more people like myself that have been in the game for a long time. So he was very uh, positive and actually promoted the move and was like, hey, you got to do this. This is a great one for you. All our support, and if you ever want to come back, the door is open. So that was really positive to hear.
Obviously, you grew up around San Diego and consider San Diego your home. Your family makes your home here. Your parents make your home here. But there was probably at least a little bit of trepidation in coming back to the San Diego Soccers after so many years away. How would you evaluate that aspect of it, playing in front of the San Diego fans, playing at Front Wave Arena? Obviously, the championship, flags fly forever, and that banner will be raised up to the rafters. But how would you evaluate that aspect of it? The you can never come home again, but actually you did.
Yeah, I think there was, when you spend time on another team or you spend time defending one team's colors, one thing I'd always do is any team I play for, I'm 100% in with them, right? I'm there on that team to win, to do whatever I can to help my team win at any point, whether that's a Sunday league game, whether that's a MASL, beach soccer, whatever it is. If I'm on the team, I'm going to do everything I can to win. So for a lot of years, it was trying to beat San Diego, right? That was the goal. How do we dethrone San Diego? Because the way that the conferences were set up, the only team we were going to meet in the playoffs was San Diego or Chihuahua. A lot of my effort and energy was spent on trying to beat San Diego. So coming back, I wasn't sure what that was going to look like from a fan standpoint, but I do have to say the amount of fans that took time to have a personal moment and connection with me, to thank me for coming back, to tell me that they were always been fans of my game, even if they didn't cheer for me and it was more of a jeer at the time and always loved my game, was really heartwarming. So I was received so positively, and it was really special to know that people, no matter what they see on the field, know that there's a person behind it, and that they were very respectful to that person.
How would you evaluate the season? Obviously, it ended the way that everybody wanted it. You never, or you rarely, get a completely smooth garden path from game one to the championship. This team had to deal with a ton of injuries. In January, you were one of the only healthy players on the entire team. A six-match road trip that took up an entire month. There were a number of
Yeah.
hardships along the way.
Yeah, it was very difficult. Honestly, I wasn't sure what to expect when I came because the power of the Sockers has always been strength in numbers. They've always had a very complete and very deep roster, right? It's always been, you can't stop Leo and stop Tavoy and stop Escoto and stop Gutierrez, right? You just and Craig, you can't stop all of them. So that's always been that. So when I came, I thought to myself, okay, well, I'm going to try to cement myself as one of the you can't stop all of us kind of things. And then, as you say, the big players started to go down. Craig got hurt, Tavoy got hurt, Leo got hurt, Serta got hurt, Mitchell was out for a stretch, Charlie was out for a long stretch. There was just so many players that were going down, and I train really hard. I work really hard in the trainings in the off season to try to keep my body healthy. So after 2 seasons of dealing with some knee injuries, this was the year that I finally felt good about it. And I actually missed only one game because the day before the Ontario opener, I tore something in my ankle, and I thought, oh boy, here's my season. And I played on it the next day, and I was not able to really run around to my liking. So I missed that first Milwaukee game to give it a full week to rest. But after that, I felt great. No issues, no injuries, and it felt like I was really able to help the team in moments where it was really hard to get wins. I forgot that Chris Toth went down for 3 months, and by the way, one of the most unsung heroes of the championship is Boris because Chris comes in and does what he does best, which is get us over the line so many times. But Boris was carrying the weight of a single man goalkeeping team for the entire regular season. So the season itself played out in a way that was not what I expected. But it was very rewarding because I was able to grind through moments that the club needed. And I know that that put us in a position to win the Shield, put us in a position to host the playoffs, which is a big difference, hosting the playoffs on the back end, hosting the championship game on the back end. I don't know what would have happened had Milwaukee had a higher seed than us. Would we have been able to pull that out in games 2 and 3? I don't know. So it was huge, and I think that that's the contribution that I'm most proud of is the longevity, is the ability to do it throughout the whole season, not in one game, not in one series, but throughout the whole year.
One of the things that I think is going to make this championship so memorable is exactly the dynamic you just described. The Sockers won the Shield by 1 point, which means that you can go through the regular season and point to every big play of the regular season and go, that's the one. That's the one.
Yeah.
Without this, you don't win the Shield. Without that, you don't win the Shield. I'm thinking right now, talking to you about a game at the end of January when everybody was hurt and the club came home from their long road trip and Tacoma had you guys dead to rights. And the team, you basically, I believe, were missing 12 regulars out of 16 that day. And you scored with 6 seconds left in the game to force it to regulation and then laid one off to Mendez for the winner in that game. Like, we can go through, though, Nate Lindquist making a huge save at the end of regulation on Fabian that got you guys a point in that game that they came. I mean, we really could, couldn't we? We could find 12 moments that won that Shield.
Oh, absolutely. You could go through those. And I think the one thing that I'll remember fondly from this past season is a moment that I stood up at halftime in the locker room and said to the guys, and forgive my language here, but I don't know how you do this. But we were losing at halftime. But don't worry, we're going to win. I've been watching you guys turn these impossible to win games over into wins for the last 10 years. Somehow this shit's going to work. I don't know how it's going to work. And there were so many of those. I'm thinking of that first road game trip with Baltimore and Utica when we had to get on the bus and do the whole thing. We were dead in both those games. We were dead, 3-0 down to Baltimore. I hit a ball off of a defender for an own goal. Then I think Estrella, no, it wasn't him. It was
Reyes. It was Reyes.
Reyes clips one off of another defender and it goes in. And suddenly we go into halftime 3-2. In a game that we were dead, and then we flip in the second half and win. Same thing in Utica. Nate Lindquist starts the game. We're down 3-0. He gives away a bad shootout goal early on in the game when he's trying to get his bearings. He gives it away. Boris comes back in. We steal 2 crummy goals at the end of the second period. My dog, I find out, passed away at halftime of that game. So, we're sitting in the locker room. I'm going, I don't want to play. And we come out and play, and somehow we flip the game and we win. I mean, crazy stuff. So, there was just so many moments that we really didn't, you can't think of right now because it's past, but each single one could have been a book in themselves, and so many of those little books and chapters start getting put together, and you end up with a moment like Leo scoring against St. Louis with 3 seconds to go to send it into overtime to allow me a chance to go with a minute and a half into overtime left in overtime to go win us the game at home in front of I don't know how many thousands of people to send us into the championship. So there was just so many individual moments, and then the culmination of Game 3 of being just kind of an absolute top to bottom blowout of the one series where we had everybody fully available, the one game in the series that we had everybody fully available, and having that be a blowout. So it's a pretty cool story across the board, and one that, as you said, is hard to replicate.
It had been 14 years between championships for yourself. And, as we noted at the time, and you just talked about it, that golden goal against St. Louis was actually your first MASL playoff series victory because you always had to play the Sockers or Chihuahua. It was like literally the
Yeah.
Tacoma would always have to play the Sockers or Chihuahua. But I was just wondering about the feeling through that week plus of the Ron Newman Cup finals, going to Milwaukee, pulling out a great win, absolute chaos at the end of the game. Serta doing one of the most athletic red cards I've ever seen, but then everything else devolves with the fans throwing stuff at the team. You come back to San Diego, the biggest crowd in modern soccer's non-Landon Donovan debut history.
Yep.
And honestly, I don't want to say laying an egg, but not winning that game, having 2 days in between, coming back on a Monday night, wondering, are we going to get 1,000 fans for this last game? And instead, you see almost 4,000 fans. What was just that feeling of the ups and downs of actually reeling in this championship?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one because I've obviously played in a lot of big games before. I've been on the U.S. national team for 15 years, so it's not like I haven't played in big games or big moments. Three World Cups, and but there is something special about the series. The building of a series is really special because there's so much more at stake knowing that it's not a one and done. You've got to play that team tomorrow or the next day or the next day. So there's a lot more sort of mental chess happening in those games than maybe people would recognize. But I think that week in particular was a week that I don't want to seem despective or disrespectful when I say this, but I don't ever feel like the championship was in doubt. I never at one point felt we can't do this. When we went into Milwaukee in the game, the actual game itself, the first game I thought was handled very well. One of the better, more complete performances we put together in terms of defending, attacking, putting together plays. Funny anecdote, the goal that I score in Milwaukee, which is a header, Charlie and I literally have a conversation before the game where I say, listen, there's a defender. The way that he plays is a little bit over aggressive. So I'm going to check on his front side, but I'm going to fade on the backside because I know you like to hit that ball to the back post. So if we can time it, take a look at me, keep your eyes on me. And he goes, oh, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. And it literally played out as if we were playing video games, which is why you can see us when we're celebrating. We're like pointing at each other, like, can you believe that happened? Um, Even in the game that we lost, the score line read a big swing, but it was 4-2 with 3 minutes to go in the game. And we hit the crossbar 4 times, the post 5 times. So even that game, I was still like, we can probably win this game. It wasn't until the 6 attacker goals started going in that I said, okay, it's done. But even then, the mentality of the group was we are going to win this, and there was never really even a question. We actually had like a night before the game meal at the hotel, and it was like nothing's happened tomorrow, no big deal. We're just getting together. We're gonna have a little bite to eat. We'll just chat a little bit, go to sleep. See you guys tomorrow. It was the most relaxed, casual environment because we were all very confident that we had done enough work to put ourselves in a position to do what needed to be done.
Before I let you go, because it is soccer summertime, and I'm sure when Tony gets back, we'll talk a little bit more about TST recap. But yourself and Chris in the co-ed bracket got to play for the million and got to get deep in, and you had a huge shootout goal that sent your team through. There was a lot of drama, of course, as there is. TST is all about
Yeah.
drama. How would you recap that experience?
That was crazy. We went from the Ron Newman Championship into TST to being, whatever in a place to win yourself $1 million and do the whole thing. And then we actually went and played a beach soccer tournament and won that whole thing after that too. So it was kind of this crazy experience. But TST, in my opinion, has gotten very commercial and is very, very influencer social media based.
Hmm.
But the actual competition of what happened on the day was so awesome because we got to bring together this group of women and group of men that didn't know each other, get into a room where we're trying to just get to know people's names and remember what's going on. I was fortunate enough to coach the men and the women until we got to a place where I needed to play with the men as well. But on the women's side, we saw this group of players who some of them had a lot of 7v7 background, but some did not. And we were able in this like 4 day period to get these women that they were fantastic in the final. They could have won the whole thing, and they played so well. And the men too, we were right there. And the hard part with TST is that it's really based on who gets possession of the ball in that final period of 3v3 or 4v4. If you happen to have the ball, you're probably winning the game, right? We saw Charlie and Bumpy pitch to it last year where they were basically specialists in winding the clock down to a place to where they were good enough to take it over. And it just so happened that in the 4v4, the other team had the ball. And that's kind of where $1 million was lost. But the competition as a mixed tournament was fantastic. I loved the format, super fun, super fan friendly. Um, I think that the rules still need, in my opinion, to be retouched a little bit. I like that you can't go back past half, but I probably would have added a shot clock so that teams don't sit there and whittle it away to basically saying, okay, now we're 3v3 and we've got the ball and we've had it for a long time. But a really cool experience and a very cool experience from a like human standpoint to bring a group of people together that have never played this format before and somehow get us all on the same page was really rewarding and really, really cool.
And last thing, as a follow up to that, obviously we'll be dealing with it on different franchises now. But you were formerly a general manager in the NWSL. Yeah, this opportunity at TST, a co-ed bracket. So they had a men's, a women's, and a co-ed winner at TST, and then the understanding that the Major Arena Soccer League is attempting to create a premier division for indoor women's MASLW. We saw the exhibition matches between the
Mhm.
Sockers and Strikers. What are your thoughts on the growth of the sport into becoming both men and women playing at the highest level?
Man, I've been involved in indoor soccer for a long time, and I just think that from a technical development standpoint, it's one of the most underappreciated uh, like tools that we can have as coaches. So when I think about women starting to play indoor soccer, I just think of the individual technical development that's going to happen to some of these players who maybe have not been exposed to soccer at this speed, at this decision-making speed, and at this technical requirement. It's just going to elevate the game across the board everywhere, right? It's just going to make them that much better. So I've invested my whole life in beach soccer and indoor, and both of those are these super undervalued, underutilized technical development tools that, for whatever reason, has been pushed aside by the regular 9v or 11v11 soccer. But I just see a women's league as something that's going to elevate the standing in the sport across the country for everyone. And I think from a fan standpoint, um, there's a lot of the women's soccer fans are fervent. They follow their teams and their
Yes.
players fervently. So I think if we start to see that there's franchises that want to put real money and effort and resources behind the women's game, I think that the fans and the crowds will follow that sport. So I think it's a positive move for the league. And I hope that they take it super seriously and put the amount of time and effort and energy into it that they do on the men's, because I think it'll pay itself back in dividends in terms of what it does for the women's game and what it does for the sport in general.
All right, very last question, I promise. But for yourself, you just celebrated your 40th birthday as we record this 11 days ago. Uh, you're third in the league all time. In points, you're one of three players over 500. What are your personal goals continuing forward for your indoor career? How much longer do you want to keep playing?
Yeah, it's the kind of the question that when you start to get to my age and you're still doing what you've been doing for 20 years, you start to think about kind of daily is like, and I think what I've come to is, um, I think I don't have to prove anything to anybody at this point anymore. For a long time, and you know me, Craig, for a long time, I was like, every game and every practice, I've got to prove to everybody that's here how good I am. I want to show everyone how good I am, whether it's a goal or a move or something. I need everyone to know. I think that probably for a while now, I've known that I don't need to do that anymore for everybody else on the outside. And this past year with the Sockers in particular was one for me because I had 2 years of a bad knee injury, and I felt like the soccer I was putting out there was not what I wanted it to be. I was not the player I wanted to be, and I was not performing at the level I wanted to because of my physical inability to do it at the way I wanted to. So this last year was a really, I proved it to myself that at 38, 39, 40, I could still go back and do it, still keep healthy, and still perform at the level that I think is my level. So I think that was what it was. The truth of it is that if I kicked that last ball at I was about to call it Pachanga, at Front Wave Arena, and we won the championship, and I called it a day, I think I would have been okay with that. Like there was really no need to not call it a day. But I honestly love it, and I have so much fun with it that I want to at least do it for another year and maybe two. But so long as it's fun, I will continue to do it. And the moment at which it feels like it's not fun and it's a chore or I'm dragging my body through something that it can't do, it'll be time. But I think for right now, I see the way Craig was able to call his own shot and basically say, "This is my year." And I think that's a really cool way to do it. And I really respected him for doing that because your heart and your brain are, I feel like there are constant odds between this is the right thing to do and then your heart's like, yeah, but you could do it a little longer. So I think he did a really good job of calling it, and then obviously he had the unfortunate injury which made it even more sort of apparent to himself and everybody around that this is the time for him. I'd like to be able to go out on my own terms in that regards and being able to call it, but I still owe it to myself to have the amount of fun that I do for it, not for anybody else's validation or anybody else's opinion, but for my own validation of just having fun, enjoying the locker room, enjoying the soccer. So I don't have a timeline for you, and my wife asked me this a couple times a week, but I don't. I don't have a timeline. I hope 1 or 2 more years, and we'll see how the body holds up. But the way I play, I don't run around a ton, so I feel like I probably could give it a couple more years as long as I stay healthy.
Well, Nick, I've known you for 17 of those years of your life, and it's just an absolute pleasure to be able to have celebrated a championship with you once again. The last time we did it was in a locker room at the old Cincinnati Arena
Yeah.
in Ohio in 2011. So to be able to do it at Front Wave Arena was something truly special. You've always been a soccer for life, even on your trips away, and that will remain the case in this upcoming season and however the rest of things play out. But man, it was just an absolute pleasure to be able to share this year with you, to be able to call your big goals all year long, and to be a part of this journey with you. And on behalf of the soccer's front office, but also more importantly for all those fans who are out there watching, just want to share from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much. Thank you for your contributions. Thank you for helping us win that ring. And we know we'll be seeing you down the road. But best of luck down there.
Yeah, thank you. And I want to take a quick moment and thank everybody too. I mean, the people in the front office that were fantastic. The crowds that we put together were unbelievable. Amazing attendance. The media team did a great job of putting together stuff for it. Obviously the coaching staff and the players every single day grinding it out and try to do it. But it was an amazing experience, and I want to thank every single fan who came and watched, and every single person that took time to high five me or thank me for everything. And people have maybe no idea how much it means to us players when we get those moments with fans, to see the joy on their face and to see it. And honestly, that goal I scored against St. Louis will probably forever live in my memory as a moment. because you can see it in the replay. It was like a release of a lot of maybe doubts and concerns, and it was a moment of like, okay, we're going for this. So it was really really cool, and again, winning a championship, as you said, stays forever. So thank you all for the journey. Thank you all for everything you've done. Thanks to Phil and Cheeky for putting up with me and trying to figure out a way to get it to work, and it did work. So yeah, it was an amazing experience, and I'll obviously be seeing everybody very, very soon, and hopefully we can share some more fun indoor soccer moments together, whatever the uniform I'm wearing is.
Nick Perera, soccer for life, one of the greatest players in the history of the sport. Thank you for your contribution.